Hey everybody, how's it going? I am Sethum, and in this video folks I'm going to be showing you how to breed dinos, and that will of course cover the egg laying dinos as well as the mammals, so basically the dinos that give live birth. I will also show you how to make breeding pens for the dinos that you are trying to breed. Obviously that will depend on the size of the dino that you are trying to breed. So if you folks enjoyed this video, please do not forget to support me and the channel by hitting that like button. Subscribe to the channel for more similar content. And if you have just subscribed to the channel, remember to hit that bell icon so that you get notified when I upload new content. Also, if you have just subscribed, why not check out some of my other videos here on this channel? Who knows, you might just enjoy them. And for those interested in hanging out with me, you can always find me on the Sethtopia Discord. Link to this can be found down below in the video's description as well as in a pinned comment. So with all that out of the way, why do you want to breed dinos? Well, for a couple of reasons. The first reason would be because you want to obtain stronger dinos than the ones that you can get through taming. Now these can be used to fight bosses, or you can just use them to explore the island or whatever map you are breeding your dinos on. The other reason would be to obtain mutations. Now mutation is a random thing that does occur when breeding dinos, and it has a very small chance of happening. Now mutations of course can come in two forms. They can be stat mutations, so that could affect, say for example, the health stat. By that I mean of course increasing the health of that specific dino, and it can affect any stat whatsoever. So it can affect, like I said before, health. It can affect the food, the amount of food that that creature will have. That is quite random. And the other reason would be that you just enjoy breeding dinos. You like looking after little babies and watching them grow. So in this video I'm going to cover all of the basics. Do bear in mind that this is a guide designed for new players, and as such I will only cover the basics, as this needs to be understood by the people that are watching. So first things first, let's build a pen for the larger dinos. Now this can be used for creatures such as Rexes, Gigas. You can even place Brontos in. Now the size that we're going to go for, we're going to use Behemoth gateways to lock them in, because you do need to get them in and out. On the other hand, you can use foundations and walls to spare the materials, as Behemoth gateways can be quite expensive to build. So because I already have an enclosed spot, I just need to place down a Behemoth gateway. Now do bear in mind that the Behemoth gateway is somewhere around 6 wide and 12 tall. Obviously I'm not going to finish off the enclosure. I'm not going to close it. It is going to be open. Once I am happy with the gate, I'm going to go and build some smaller breeding pens. And as I said before, instead of wasting resources, my advice is putting down gates so you can use those pens over and over again without breaking stuff and therefore wasting resources. At least that is my personal preference. I mean, people will just build temporary breeding pens, but I prefer finding a location that I like in my base and then setting up a permanent breeding pen. So I'm going to move this big guy over here, and then we'll set up some smaller breeding pens to show you guys what I am going to do. Now there is a reason for which I am setting up these breeding pens, and for this section I am going to be using the dinosaur gateways. These are about 2 wide and about 4 tall. So as you can see over there, that is 2 foundations wide and 4 foundations tall. This should be enough for these smaller dinos, and you can put here stuff such as Argent as well as any other smaller creature. As I said before, I will show you exactly why you want to build a breeding pen. There is a good reason, and obviously this is dedicated and aimed at people playing on official servers or servers with the same settings as official servers. So I'm going to try and get this just right. So as you can see, the dinosaur gateways do tend to snap to each other, which is quite good, and the dimensions of these pens, as there will be 2 pens, will be 2 dinosaur gateways by 1. That is because I am going to make 2 pens, and I can also use it as a single pen because I will put another gateway in between, which I can leave open if I want. Once you put the gateway down, obviously put the gates, as it will need to be enclosed. And the reason behind that is simply because in order to get creatures to breed and mate, you will need to set them on wonder. You don't want to lose them, and they need to be within close proximity of each other so that they can breed. If they get too far away from each other, then they will not be able to breed, and obviously it will be a pain in the rear end to try and get them to breed. You can also set them on wonder and use the stop all whistle command, which is the letter U on the keyboard on PC. I'm not sure what it is on consoles. However, if you do not have a friend to help you with this, I can find this a bit of a hard work to do, so that is why I'm showing you how to breed the dinos with the use of breeding pens. So I'll go and get the other Argent. Now obviously Argent will lay eggs, and as such you will need obviously a male and female of the same species to breed them. I am briefly going to cover the principles of breeding and how to get dinos with stronger stats, as that is the most common reason for which people will breed them. And obviously, as you can see, I have a male and female Argentavis. You know that they are a pair because they have heart above their names. So that means that now I am able to breed them, and when I set them on wonder, they should not be able to go out, as they will not fly. Be very careful that when you do set them on wonder, that they are already landed, otherwise they will fly randomly through the air. So let's look at the stats. These are the stats for my Argents. These are 150 perfect tames. Obviously I used the cheat commands, and for this video, just as a side note, I have bumped up the breeding speed as well as the hatching speed and maturing speed for the dinos, as I do want to show you all of the important things, and I don't want to spend days and days breeding them and making this video. So with that said and done, obviously on official servers or servers that have settings similar to official servers, breeding dinos such as Argent, Rexes, and so on can take anywhere from a couple of hours, depending on the size of the creature that you are trying to breed, to a couple of days, maybe even weeks. So for example, a Giganotosaurus will take a couple of weeks to mature. That means once a person has imprinted on the baby, that person who has imprinted will have to log onto the computer or onto the game every so often to breed them. So I've set them both on wonder. As you can see, they are not moving anywhere, but they do also have additional hearts above their names, meaning that they are breeding. So if I look at the female, I will see a breeding bar, and once that has filled up, the female Argentavis will lay a fertilized egg. Very important here is to be next to your Argentavis for when she lays that egg, because you want to pick it up straight away, and if you don't, that egg will incur damage, which will affect the statistics of the baby once it has been hatched. If you leave it for too long, the baby Argentavis, or the egg in this particular case, will take damage up to the point of being destroyed. So you want to pick it up as soon as it comes out of the Argent's rear end. So as you can see, the bar is going up quite quickly, and do bear in mind, as I said before, quite important here, I have bumped up the speed of breeding, maturing, and all of the other things that involve breeding dinos. That is, of course, for the purposes of making this tutorial. However, on official servers, this can take several minutes, and I do mean several minutes by that, like as in 30, 40, 50 minutes, 15 minutes. It really does depend on what dinos you are trying to breed, and the incubation can take several hours, and of course the raising of the baby Argents will take several days. So as you can see, it will take a long time to get decent Argent. Now she is nearly ready to lay the incubated egg. So you will see that she will make an animation once she has laid it. No, that's not it. That's poop. There we go. I picked it up quite quickly, but you should have been able to notice that the fertilized egg had a reddish aura around it. That's how you know it is fertilized. Once you are finished, do disable wander, because they do need several hours of rest, maybe several days before they can breed again. Obviously you can use the same male with multiple females to get more eggs if you do want more eggs. At the moment I only have a pair, so that is what I'm going to go for. Once I finish, I will put these guys back and we will have a look at some other dinos and what it looks like in terms of breeding. Once I've got the egg, I will then incubate them and show you folks how to look after your babies. Now do bear in mind that my babies will mature ridiculously quick. As I said before, and I will mention it several more times throughout the video, I have increased the speed of breeding. So with that said and done, once you are finished, obviously make sure you disable wandering on your creatures before you put them back, otherwise they will just aimlessly wander around your base. Take them back to where you want them. You have the egg in your inventory, it should last very long. You can of course also place the egg in a preserving bin or in a refrigerator to store it for longer. You don't have to breed it, to incubate it, sorry, straight after it has come out the dino's rear end. By putting it in a refrigerator, as I said before, it will increase the spoil timer of the incubated egg, and it will not affect the egg or the baby statistics that would come out of the egg. Because it will not take damage, the refrigerator will act as a method of prolonging that egg's spoil timer. Nearly forgot the words there. And so now we're going to go on with the Rexes, and here I'm hoping to show you guys what I meant in terms of breeding, that the dinos do need a rest after they have laid an incubated egg. So that is of course referring to the female dinos. The males can go on breeding forever and ever and ever. The females though need a break from breeding, so obviously the timers will differ from dino to dino and from server to server depending on the server settings. So first things first, I am going to go into their behavior and set them on wandering. Same thing here, and as I said before, you can use the stop or whistle to stop them from wandering too far from each other. However, I find that somewhat annoying, and you do have to pay attention, and they still tend to wander off, which is why I find the use of breeding pens that much easier. So also with the dinos, if you want to breed strong dinos, I am going to go over the strategy used to breed stronger dinos. So the very first thing is you will want to decide what stat you want to breed. Of course, you can select or choose a multitude of stats, so say for example health and damage, and if that is what you want, then the very first thing you'll need to do is tame high level dinos for those stats. So I recommend taming as many as you can, preferably 150s, and once you have a bunch of dinos, do not put any point in anything, as you will need to know what their original stats are, as that is what will get passed on to the babies. So for example, if a dino comes out with, say for example 300 HP after tame, the fact that you put more points in that HP does not affect the baby's stats from that dino. It will always have 300 HP unless it has a mutation. Mutations can, bear in mind, be both in terms of colors and design as well as in stats. So you'll need to know what the original stats were after taming, so that you can choose the dinos with the highest stats. As I said before, say you are going for health and damage. Out of that number of dinos that you have tamed, so out of the number of perfect tamed, you will want to create a pair with one of the dinos having the highest stat in health and the other one the highest stat in damage. Of course, As I said, after tame, points invested in those stats after taming do not count, so you do need to know the bear stat after tame. So once you have got yourself a pair, so say for example a male that excels in damage, so has the highest damage, and a female that has the most amount of HP, you will then breed them over and over again. It may take a couple of attempts until you get a baby that has had both of those stats transferred to it. Once you have that baby, obviously look after it, try and imprint on it as often as possible. After that, obviously you will need to have a pair for it, so do continue breeding that pair until you get the counterpart for the baby that you already have. So say for example, if you have got a male Rex out of breeding over and over again that has both of the high stats of the parent, you will then need a female with the exact same stats. So you will continue breeding that pair that you have with the high stats until you get a female that has had those stats transferred to it. Obviously in the process you may get several mutations or you may not. It does depend on how lucky you are. Once you have obtained a pair of babies from the parents that have both of the high stats transferred to them, you can then breed them over and over again until you create an army of dinos with high stats. Obviously do bear in mind that mutations can carry over, so if you have gained a dino, say for example, that has had a mutation added to, say for example, health or damage, you will want to add that into the concoction. That makes your baby dinos even more stronger. Also, you can stack up mutations, so for example you can stack multiple mutations in, say for example, health or damage, or you can even combine them. Obviously there is a 50-50 chance that the mutation may not carry over to the baby dino if you only have one of the parents that has a mutation. So in order to get that to 100% chance to carry over to the baby dino, you will want to breed that dino with the mutated stat over and over again until you have a pair that has that mutated stat that you want. After that you can carry on breeding until you get further mutations, and so that is how you build up seriously overpowered dinos in the game of Ark. Obviously what I said here in this video is the very brief overview of how to get powerful dinos, and I do respect that people may not understand what I have said, especially if you are just starting out in Ark. Obviously if people want me to make a video tutorial on that, just tell me down below in the comments section, and if enough people ask for it, I am more than happy to do that. Obviously that is going to be a very long video or a lot of work from my side to get all of the information on camera. And now we have moved to the thylacoleos, which I will be breeding. Obviously these are mammals, and so therefore they will not lay eggs. They will obviously give live birth. So once they have been impregnated, I will have to look after the female and be careful when the female is about to give birth, as you want to imprint on your dinos as quick as possible and put food in them, as they do not come out with a lot of food, and once the food goes down and is completely depleted, they run the risk of dying if you do not have meat ready on them. So I'm going to go and get some meat off of my wyvern. I think I'll put them somewhere around here. I might need to get some more food. I think I have enough time to go and get some stuff. If not, what I have on me should be enough. That is very important with dinos. Obviously the larger dinos do give you a bit more time to go and find food, whereas the smaller dinos, for example a jerboa, you need to make sure that you have the food ready for when it comes out, as it does have a very small amount of health and they tend to die within a couple of seconds after being birthed. So you will need to put food in its inventory after imprinting. So that needs to be really fast. And I'm talking about official servers here. Once you have imprinted and put food on it, then you can work on deciding a name for your new creature if you want to do that. So very important here on the dinos, make sure you have food on them, and once they have finished breeding, make sure that you disable wandering. You do not want them wandering around your base, as they might get themselves into trouble or end up lost, and they can derp out through walls. I have had that happen, so very important step there. Make sure you disable wandering. Once, there we are, she's about to give birth, so once the baby is out, very important, make sure you imprint on your baby, then put food into inventory. Do not bother with the name, you can always change the name at a later time. Also, the person that has imprinted on the dino will be the only one that can continue with the imprint as it grows up. Obviously, this baby will grow up very quick, so I won't get a chance to imprint, which is alright. The reason you want to imprint on dinos is with each imprint it does increase the stats of the baby dinos by a small yet significant amount, as they will add up. Each imprint will of course increase the dino's stats, the baby dino stats, so stacking those imprints up does make a difference for when it has reached full maturity. Once you have a baby with 100% imprinting, that baby's stats will have significantly been increased compared to the parent. Obviously, the imprints do not carry on to the babies if you use the babies off of a breeding pair, so that is very important to know here. However, difference occurs when you level them up. They will level up the stats that you want to level up far quicker, because these stats level up on a percentage. I'm not sure what the percentage is, so the way to look at it is as follows. The higher the stat is after the baby has matured, the greater the impact of that point that you put into that stat, as it is a percentage. So for example, 5% out of 100 points is going to be 5, whereas for example out of 1,000 points it would be 50, just as a rough thing. So that, as you can see, is quite a big difference. So you want to imprint on your dinos as often as possible, simply because the imprinting will increase set stats on dinos. So on land dinos it will increase movement speed, the hunger pool, the hit pool, the damage. So by the time the baby is fully matured, it will have had those stats increased compared to the parent, and so therefore each point invested in a specific stat will yield better results compared to the parent, just because of that. I will obviously show this towards the end of the video on some wyverns. Also, an important note here is that when you do breed dinos, you do have a small chance of getting twins and an even smaller chance of getting triplets. That is a thing in the game, and so do bear that in mind. Make sure you have plenty of food if that does happen. It is a very rare occurrence, however it does happen and the game is designed to do that. Okay, so with all that out of the way, let's get into the incubation of eggs. All of the eggs in the game have a specific temperature that they incubate at, and you can use standing torches, campfires and other sources of heat to generate the appropriate temperature for incubation. However, do bear in mind that the weather in the game does vary, which may affect the incubation of the egg, and if the temperature is not right, the egg's health will drop, and if the egg's health drops, it will affect the stats of the dino, or the stats of the baby dino that will come out of the egg, depending on how much the egg's health has dropped. Also, if it drops all the way, then the egg will have been destroyed, and so therefore you will have lost that fertilized egg. So for that reason, I personally recommend using air cons. Now, several air cons should be enough to incubate just about any egg in the game. The only eggs in the game that do require a lot of air conditioning units would be the Wyvern Eggs, and that is because they incubate at a very high temperature. So I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's somewhere around 13 or maybe 16 air conditioning units, and you will want to set them up in a U shape. So as you can see, the eggs I've set out have a great speed in terms of incubation as well as mature rate, and out of one egg I did get twins. The stats on these baby Argents should be the exact same as they are twins, and I will show you as well how to check if they have mutations. It is very unlikely that they'll have mutations as they are twins, but that is still a thing. So you go into ancestries and you should be able to see the paternal and maternal ancestries and if they have any mutations. Obviously I will not tell you what the mutation is in, so that is why it's important to know the stats of the parent after being tamed or after being bred. Apart from the stats, the mutations can also occur in the colors of the dino. So for example, a specific part of the dino may have a different color to the parent, and if that is the case, that is where your mutation has happened. And as I said before, these mutations can be passed on to other dinos through breeding. So now that I have my babies, I want to move them out of the air conditioning unit as they may derp out, which can happen quite often in the game. That thing needs a bit of a sorting from the devs. If they do derp out, chances are you will have to destroy whatever units they are stuck in to get them out, which kind of does suck. So now that I do have some meat, I'm gonna go and get that off of my wyvern and then put it on my babies. Obviously my babies should be able to reach maturity without any food, but I did stress that it is important to make sure that your dinos have food on them. As you can see, they will eat out of it. Also, it is important to note that you will need to hand feed babies up to the point where they become juveniles. Once they become juveniles, you can have them feeding out of a feeding trough. So very important here to note is that a baby dino will not feed out of a feeding trough until it reaches the age of juvenile. As you can see, my thylaco is now mature, but it is stuck in the base or possibly stuck in the hitbox of one of the other thylacos. That's not a problem. I think I can get him out by putting a saddle on him and moving him. Hopefully that is the case. In this video, obviously, I will not have done any imprinting. In terms of imprinting, baby dinos will require several things. It is quite random what they ask for. They may ask for a cuddle, they may ask for a specific kibble, or they may ask for a walk. In terms of, say, thylacos, argent, and your general standard dinos, they will require a random kibble, which is why you will want to have a egg farm before you start breeding dinos if you want to get those imprints on them. I did say that imprinting is quite important in this kind of game, well, in this specific part of the game, and as you can see, all of my dinos have not been imprinted. I will cover that in the other video if people ask for it. So in terms of the wyverns, which is what I have now here, they will also require either a walk, a cuddle, or wyvern milk. Getting the eggs can be difficult, getting the milk can be difficult. I do have a video on the channel on how to get milk as well as how to get the eggs and all that good stuff. However, as I said, the wyvern eggs are somewhat different to your general breeding in terms of dinos, in terms of what they require and how to acquire the eggs. So as you can see, the incubation process is mighty quick, and hopefully we will get some nice wyverns out of this. There should be, if I'm not mistaken, level 1, as these are spawned in eggs. There we go, there are my wyverns. I will quickly imprint on them. Also with the wyverns, there is actually a difference in terms of food. They do not eat meat. Until they are mature, they will not eat meat. They will only eat wyvern milk, which you obtain by knocking out a female wyvern and then collecting the milk. There is no rush to get the wyvern milk for the wyverns, as they do come out with a significant amount of health, so you can get the milk up to 4 hours after they have been hatched. That will also be required for imprinting, whereas the other dinos may require specific kibble. The wyverns will want to be hand-fed, which is obtained from knocking out a female wyvern to get the milk. Also, do bear in mind that the milk has a very short spoil timer, which means you will need to get it to your wyvern quickly, and you can prolong the spoil timer on milk by having preserving salts in the inventory where the milk is placed or kept. Okay, so with that said and done, these are my babies, and I'm going to show you the stats for them, as they are all level 1 wyvern, so therefore they have the basic starting stats for any wyvern. I do have one that I have imprinted on. Obviously I did use the adamant command to fully imprint on one to show you the differences that imprinting does make on a creature. So as you can see, this guy is fully imprinted, and notice that the health is greater than the one without imprinting. Obviously this does scale up with the level of the baby dino, and the bigger the stat, the bigger the scale. Is that simple? It's just the same as with the imprinting. So the more you imprint on it, the bigger the bonus in the stats as a general thing. So with that said and done, we also have these guys over here. One of them is imprinted, the other one is not. Do bear in mind that they were twins, so therefore they came out with the exact same stats. They have not been leveled up or anything, and you will also notice that they will have different levels. That does not really make a big difference, but the difference is in the stats overall. So just a quick comparison. I'm going to put a... There we go. So he's now fully imprinted. The stats have changed. As you saw before, they were identical. Now they are different. So obviously certain stats will be modified based on the imprinting. However, on flyers, the stamina will not be affected, so do bear that in mind. Neither will the speed of the creature, whereas on the land dinos, the stats will of course be different in terms of stamina as well as speed, so you can end up with really fast Rexes compared to the parents. Of course, if the parents were wild tames. So once again, just a quick look at the stats and the differences between these Argents. As you can see, they do get a different bonus per point when you add it into a stat, such as melee damage or health or whatever other stat that has been affected as a result of breeding. Now, of course, I do realize that I have included a lot of information for what is meant to be a beginner's guide. I did want to try and include as much information as humanly possible. And so if you guys have any questions or did not understand something, feel free to ask down below. I will answer the questions if I do know the answers to them. If I don't, I will research them and then obviously answer them. Also, you might get people who know the answers and will so therefore answer your question before me. Anyways, as I said, if you have a question, just put it down below and I'm more than happy to look into it and or of course answer it. If you guys want me to do a full guide on breeding and getting the mutations and breeding super OP dinos, I'm more than happy to do that. Do be patient though, as such a video like that would take a lot of time from me and of course a lot of editing. That is it for this video, folks. I do hope that you have enjoyed it and found the information in it useful. If you have, please do not forget to support me and the channel by hitting that like button. Subscribe to the channel for more similar content from myself. And if you have just subscribed, why not check out some of my other videos here on this channel? Who knows, you might just enjoy them. Also, remember to hit that bell icon so that you get notified when I upload new content. And for those interested in hanging out with me, you can always find me on the Setopia Discord. Links to this can be found down below in the video's description as well as in a pinned comment. Also, you can use the Discord to ask me questions, and when I get a chance, I will of course answer them. Until next time, stay safe, folks.